All right, awesome. Well, this is our Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern training that we do every single week. And this is a time where we come together to just get like some training on things that are working, hear from each other, and be a community. So I always love to start these off with anybody sharing if you have an update, maybe something about you and the product this week that was really amazing, or maybe a conversation that you had with somebody, or somebody joined you in the business, or you got a new customer. Anything you want to share and shout out right now? Let's start with that. Good morning, Cindy. I always love that smile. Anybody want to unmute and just share something really quick before we get started this morning? I know some more people are popping on. Cindy, you've had a lot of really great conversations this week that you've been putting me in about PT 141. Would you mind unmuting and just sharing how you got those conversations started? It actually ties in nicely to what we're talking about today.
Yes, I'm driving at the moment, but I wound up actually somebody on a 50 plus page had mentioned something about spinning down there and having loss of libido, and so I just kind of mentioned it, and I was like, hey, there's this, I was unaware as well as I'm entering this phase of my life, and I said, I have some close friends that are having some really good success with this, and it wound up just stirring up a bunch of conversations that people were very much interested in. Actually, did open my eyes to that because that's not a particular issue that I have, but to see that many women really, I mean, it was like one message after the other, after the other, after the other, and it's like, where can I get this? I've never heard of this before. So yeah, so it was really interesting to be able to kind of connect with them and then provide them the information that they need to help them, especially in that kind of intimate um, part of your life that really is important. So
Love
yeah,
that.
so I'm still in connections with the two that you put me on. I know one is waiting because she can't get it. She's in Kentucky.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, but I'm just kind of keeping her in the loop with stuff. So
That's awesome. Did you check the nasal spray PT 141 if it was available in Kentucky?
you know what? I didn't. I'll take a look at that today. And
Yeah,
then
double check.
but yeah, so and that was really cool too to be able to have that option because some people get squeamish with the needles, and I was like, well, it's easy to kind of then have it with you as a nasal spray. So
Right. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right. Well, welcome. I know a few more people just hopped on. So, good morning and welcome. Cindy was just sharing how she was getting into some great conversations about PT 141 from a Facebook group that she was in of women 50 and older, and they were asking about libido and sexual health and things like that. So, welcome, you guys. We're going to get this started this morning, and I have a couple things I want to share before we get started, but and I'm going to be talking about Facebook groups today, how to grow your business through Facebook groups. But I also want to just tell you, because I think it's really important to understand and learn about these products. So PT 141 that Cindy was just talking about is under our sexual health category. It comes in an injection or a nose spray. Always the best bioavailability is going to be in a injection, right? So if you can't get it in injection or people are squeamish about needles, then the second best would be the nose spray for sure. And then PT 141 is actually known as the Barbie shot, and the reason, or the Barbie peptide. And the reason they call it the Barbie peptide is because the scientists that actually found this and found out that it was helping people with their libido and sexual health was because he was actually creating this peptide because he wanted to create a way for people to get tan without having to actually be in the sun and get sun damage. So it actually kind of pulls out the melanoma from your skin and makes you look tanner. And then the second thing that it does is he found out it helped with sexual health. And so for me personally, I have been using it 2 times a week for the last probably 4 or 5 weeks now. And my actual, this is very, like private information, but I'm going to share it because I think it's important. It actually has helped me to create my own lubrication now, which is amazing for a woman in menopause, especially not having to use all those creams and things like that. And then also, like, I actually feel like I have a desire to want to have sex instead of just having sex, right? And then the third thing that PT 141 does is a lot of people will notice that it curbs their appetite a little bit. So that's why they call it the Barbie peptide. So I want to show you guys a couple things before we get started on our training this morning. There's a new feature. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to actually show you guys on our website where you can share products directly. So first, you do have to be logged in. And so I'm logged into my husband's customer account. And then let's say I want to share with somebody NAD. All I have to do is go to the product, view more. Oh, I don't see the button. All right, hold on. I might need to relog back in. Hold on a second, guys. All right. Should have a little share button. I even practiced it this morning just to make sure it was there. So now I don't see it. This is hilarious. There was a little share button up here. I'm wondering if I'm logging into his part.
Um,
Yeah,
but they said on the training that you had to log in with your brand partner credentials.
that's interesting because I did not do that yesterday and it worked. I logged in
Right.
as a customer.
But when I sign in with my brand partner credentials, it doesn't work. I don't see it either. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it
I don't know.
definitely couldn't be as a brand partner because as a brand partner, you're in your back office. Oh, right there. See that share button? All right. I just wasn't logged. I was logged into the wrong account. I was probably logged in. I probably logged into Ryan's. So this is my website, right? It's lemd.com/ whatever my username is. And then I have a customer account underneath myself. So I logged in with my customer account. And then if I share this now, okay, it copied the link. And then if I put it in a URL, it takes them right. It also shows my website, which is Hybrid Health, and it takes them right to the NAD. And then one other little clever thing I want to show you guys is, did you know you could copy and paste these things? So if you wanted to make a reel or stories or a post, or you wanted to just learn about each individual thing, you could always copy and paste this into Chat GPT. But I will copy and paste this a lot when I'm making stories because it's easy to give the information. And then also, if you tell your customers to scroll down on frequently asked questions, they can learn a lot more about the products. And then if they scroll even further, there's scientific sources. So when I send this to people, I like to make sure and just remind them, like, hey, there's a lot of valuable information on there, right? We don't have to know everything about every single product, you guys, but we need to know where to point people to learn about the products, right? So I just wanted to show you guys that this morning. Also, want to tell you something really important, and I will, if anybody is at a computer where they can type this in as I share it, that would be amazing. I know Kelly's driving. I usually ask her to do that. But there's two different emails, and you want to know what each one is for. So support@lemd.com is for customers. If any of your customers are wondering where their product is, or they want to know, they have a question about something about their order, or they're like, why isn't it come in yet? Or did I get approved? Those kind of questions. They go to support@lemd.com. You want your customer to send in their own email and maybe ask them to CC you on it if you want to be part of the conversation. But don't send an email yourself and have your customer send an email. Why? Because it's clogging down the system. I had a meeting this week with leadership, and it's clogging down the system when I send an email. The customer sends an email, right? It's too many people. The second email that's really important for you to know is Clover@lemd.com. Clover is our community, okay? And that is for anybody who's a brand partner who has a question. Like if you were maybe unclear about this whole tirzepatide being stopped and you wanted to ask a specific question about that, or you wanted to know about something to do with, you can't find one of your customers who said that they ordered in your site, things like that. That's where you go to clover@lemd.com. Okay. Again, if you're involving your upline leader in the conversation, like let's say that Tracy on here wanted to ask a question and she told me about the issue that was going on as well. Instead of me sending an email and Tracy sending an email, just ask your brand partner to send the email and put you in the CC so you can see what's going on if you want. But again, if we all start sending in emails about the same thing, it slows down the system for other people and they really try to get back to you within 24 hours. Okay. Second thing that's really important is this is already October 5th. Have you really taken time to stop and decide what do you want out of October? Did you know that there are one, two, three, four, five bonuses that you can earn in this company in your first 2 months? And after that, you earn only 50% of those bonuses if you hit them. So those first five bonuses added together is $1,500. So if you're like, wow, that sounds like money that could really help me this holiday season, then I would definitely be looking at your compensation plan, which you can find in your partner@lemd.com site. Go under resources and print out the compensation plan. I have it printed and on my desk so that I can learn it and understand it better. But if you hit lead partner, you get a $100 bonus. Senior brand partner, $200. Team manager, $300. Advanced manager, $400. And senior manager, $500. And if you add all of those up, it's $1,500. So I know all of you guys can achieve that in October if that's something you're interested in. And then also one last thing before we get started on our training this morning is last or 2 nights ago, Thursday night, they did an amazing educational series about nutrition for people that are in GLP-1. If you have not watched it yet, I highly suggest going back and watching the replay. It's on Team Joy Facebook group and also on LEMD Partners Facebook group, which is the corporate one. And you can also find it if you're in our boards app underneath the educational series. And the reason I think it's so important that you watch it first is because I'm going to challenge you to send it to every single one of your customers. So if you have anybody who's ordered semaglutide or tirzepatide with you, I'm challenging you to take the time over the next 24 hours to send out that recording to all of them. It will educate them. It will make them feel even more confident with their decision, and it will be exciting for them to get that. And they might not realize, right? Like I know my customers don't even know where to go find the recording. So it's up to us to educate them and to get that out to them. Don't just expect them to find it in the Facebook group. Okay. All right. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Facebook groups. And I'm going to share with you guys my little trick about finding your tribe through Facebook groups. So when I had cancer a few years ago and I was selling vitamin supplements, this was the main way. It was during COVID. So this was the main way that I really built my business. And so I know that it can help all of you guys. I know that Cindy was just sharing with us how she put up, found some people about PT 141 because of a Facebook group that she was in. I know that Kelly Hoover is utilizing Facebook groups right now in her local area. So I'm going to teach you guys how I do this. If you are at home and you have a pen and paper, you might want to write some of these things down. If you're not, this is being recorded. So what I do is every quarter, so we are now in a new quarter, Q4, right? So that is October, November, December, 3 months long. I pick 2 Facebook groups that I'm going to be active and engaged with. Now, listen, we're all in probably 50 to 100 Facebook groups. If you go look right now on your Facebook and you click groups, you're going to see that you have been added to a million different Facebook groups, right? And that doesn't mean that you can't look at any of those other Facebook groups, right? I'm just saying I want you to focus on 2 for the quarter. So decide, what are those 2? I want one of those 2 Facebook groups to be something that you enjoy. So maybe that is you love to hike. Maybe you love functional medicine. Maybe you love to talk to other nurses like Cindy does, right? Maybe you're a physical therapist like Talia. So you want to be in a physical therapist of, the Southeast states in the United States group, right? Tracy on here is a hypnotherapist and nurse. Maybe she's going to get into a hypnotherapy group because that's something she really enjoys. So it's easy to be in there and engage. So group number 1 is something that you enjoy. Group number 2 is somewhere that you know your ideal client will be hanging out. So what could that be for you? Think about that. Who's your ideal client? My ideal client is a woman in perimenopause or menopause who's feeling like crap. She's gaining weight. She's sick and tired of the hot flashes. She just can't figure out what's going wrong. And her doctor is frustrating her because he just keeps saying, well, that's perimenopause or menopause, right? That's my ideal client. So when I'm thinking about that person, what kind of a group do I want to find? I want to find a perimenopause or a menopause group or a midlife mom group or a midlife empty nesters group, right? That's going to fit my ideal client. So let's say I found an midlife or a empty nesters group. Let's go with that. Okay. Maybe I found a Facebook group all about empty nesters. So I know my ideal client is hanging out in there. So now I found my 2 groups. Okay. The first thing I want to do is get engaged in there for about a week. If you're in there for a week and you are finding that at that point, everybody's super negative in the group or nobody's engaging in the group, or you notice that maybe whenever you do try to comment or engage, people are like jumping on you and they're nasty. Okay, then that's not the right group for you. And that's okay. All right. That's how you figure it out. So as you're getting used to this, it usually takes me about a week or 2 to find, okay, this is not the group for me. An example is my husband is a recovering addict, and I really tried to get into those groups because I know products that I have could really benefit and help those women and men that have spouses that have gone through this, right? Not only for themselves, but for their spouses. It is such a negative and nasty group that I had to leave within 2 days. Like nobody wanted to hear anything positive. They just wanted a place to vent, complain with no actionable steps to take forward. Okay. So I observed that. I was like, peace out. This isn't the group for me. And that's okay. So again, we're finding one group of something that you enjoy, you would love, one group where you know that your ideal client would be hanging out. And then you give yourself about a week to decide if those 2 groups are good for you. If they're not, go find something else. All right. Now, what do you do once you're in those groups? Well, we have a method that we love. It's called 3-2-1. And I want you to write this down. You're going to every day go into both of these groups and spend anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. I usually set a timer for 10 minutes for each group. Usually I can get in and out in less than 10 minutes, but the max I would ever spend is 10 minutes. Okay. So imagine this, really for me, 10 minutes can usually cover both groups. So if I spend 10 minutes Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday or Monday through Sunday, you decide. It depends on what your goals are. Remember, I was saying like figure out what you want for October. Well, for me, I have a really big goal this October. I want to go from advanced director to senior director. That means I have to go from 12,000 or from $24,000 in team volume to 50,000 in team volume. That's a big jump. So for me, I'm actually getting in these Facebook groups and engaging Monday through Saturday because I don't work my business on Sunday except to take phone calls. Okay. I don't do any social media on Sunday. It's like my break for my brain. And so for you, maybe it's Monday to Friday. Maybe it is Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday because of your work schedule. Whatever it is, make a schedule and decide now, when am I going to get into these Facebook groups? I challenge you to at least do Monday to Friday if you can. Commit to 10 minutes a day if you can do it. Now, when I get into the group, I do 3, 2, 1. I find 3 posts that I can engage on. When I engage on a post, or actually, I'm sorry, 3 posts that I'm going to like with some kind of emoji. Okay. It just shows that I'm active in there. 2 posts, the number 2 stands for 2 posts that I'm going to engage with an open-ended question to get some kind of conversation going with the other people in the group. Okay. So remember how I said one of the groups that maybe my ideal client would be hanging out in is an empty nesters group. So maybe somebody puts up a post about a fun date night that they're having with their spouse. Okay, this happened to me a couple weeks ago. And I ask a question like, well, what do you do if your spouse doesn't want to do any of those things, right? I asked a question like that. So it got a lot of engagement. And so I can go back and comment on what everybody else is commenting on my question. Number one, that shows the group that you're engaged. Number two, it gets you in conversations with people. So 3 posts that you're going to like or emoji, 2 that you're going to engage with commenting with an open-ended question if possible. And then the 1 stands for finding one person in the group that you're going to friend request and send a private message to. So, for example, maybe I liked something that this girl Melissa said. Maybe it was her post that I liked about date night ideas. I'm going to send her a private message and say, Melissa, I met you inside of the Empty Nester Moms group. I loved your post, and you had a couple ideas about date nights that I wanted to ask you a question about. I hope you accept my friend request. Okay, so I sent that out. Now, if I did that in both groups, every day, Monday through Friday, that means I'm sending out 2 friend requests every day. By Friday, I have 10 friend requests that went out. What I find is after I have 10 friend requests that have gone out for the week, 2 or 3 actually engage back with me because a lot of people, if they're not using Facebook regularly, they don't even know where to go find the other messages of people that are not their friends yet. And so they usually can't find that, and that's okay. It's not usually anything personal. It's not that they're like, ooh, I don't like her, or, I don't want to engage with her. It's usually they just don't even know that they have that message, and that's okay. So that usually gets me anywhere from about 2 to 4 new friends a week. Now, what do I do once I have that new friend? Now, this is my time to engage and connect with them. So what do I mean by that? I mean that I'm going back and forth by message with them. And for me, everybody's different. For Gary on here, he might get straight to the point. Like, dude, have you heard about peptides? 70% of the whole population of America is going to be on a peptide in the next couple of years. That's his approach. My approach is a little different. I know I go back and forth with people, and usually by the 3rd or 4th message back and forth, that either they ask me or I end up asking them, what do you do? Right? Because everybody wants to know, like, what do you do? And so when they ask me what I do, I say, oh, I'm partnered with a telehealth concierge company that focuses on longevity. We focus on longevity, weight management, sexual health, and soon to come blood diagnostic kits and hormone help. Have you ever heard of that before? And that opens up the conversation. And then we start talking about it. Okay. So that is a big way that I connect and find new people through Facebook groups every single week. But it is something that I'm committed to. It's something that I'm engaged with, and it's something that I am doing. Now, another thing I like to do is at least once a week, bring something to the group that would gain engagement. So it might be a question, it might be an article, right? So like in this empty nesters group, I know that my ideal client is a perimenopausal or menopausal woman. So I'm going to maybe share an article about, I did this about 3 weeks ago. I shared an article about how your sexual health declines while a man's sexual health a lot of times as they get older actually increases. And so I asked a question in there with the article, like, are you guys finding this to be true? And a lot of people engaged and answered. And so if people were like, yeah, I'm really pissed, I don't have that sexual drive anymore, for example, I sent them a private message and told them about PT 141. All right. So those are the kind of ways that you can engage. Let's say in that other group that I'm in, I'm in a vegan group that I really love, vegan South Florida group. So maybe I go in there and I post my new favorite restaurant where I got a really delicious vegan meal, and I ask if anybody else has been to this place before. And then we start engaging there. Another one is an article about, I put an article in one of these groups about how vegans actually end up gaining weight quite often because they're eating too many carbs. And so they find that they start to gain weight. And I asked if anybody was struggling with this. And a lot of people commented. And guess what? I could go to private message and talk to them. So here's the don'ts. Don't post your link in any of these Facebook groups. Don't say what business you're in these Facebook groups. That is considered soliciting. And almost every single Facebook group that you join is going to make you sign that little or check the boxes and agree that you're not going to solicit people in the group. Doesn't mean that you can't go to private message and share something with them and start to become their friend and engage with them. Okay. So that's how you kind of get around that and how you start to grow connections with people. Kelly Hoover is driving today, but I think she said if she can, she's going to unmute. Kelly is really good inside a Facebook group. So I asked her if she would just share a couple tips with us. Kelly,
Hey
can you?
there.
Oh, good.
Yes. Yes. Hi, everybody. Okay, so one tip for Facebook groups is look specifically for like a GLP-1 or peptide groups within your like state or your local area. If not, have you thought about creating one? I personally have found several that are local within, either my area I live in or areas that I'm building a team in. And so they're very, very active type of groups. And most of the time, people come in, especially the last 24 to 48 hours, people are coming in having a little panic. Where am I going to get my tirzepatide? Asking a bunch of questions. They come in and, like, I just answered one a little bit ago that said, I've been on Zepbound for 4 months. I've lost 6 pounds. Like, you can give advice, or you can, ask questions to create conversations. Just like Blair was sharing with, the 3-2-1, what I will do in those situations is, let's say I'm answering a question, I will respond back, but I'll also respond with something that generates a conversation. And then what I'll do is I'll say, hey, I'm going to send you some resources. Check your inbox. I'll send them a friend request. If I will say as a caveat, if they're my ideal person, right? My ideal client that I want to serve. And so I'll send them a friend request. I will drop in their inbox, and I always refer to the group I met them in. Hey, I saw you in the Charlotte GLP-1 group. You asked this question, and I told you I'd send you some resources. Here's some resources that have really helped me. If you haven't built up your resource list, you can go to boards. There's so many resources in there. I also would encourage you to look at the blog, the LEMD blog. And just be aware of what some of those resources are, right? And maybe you even start a conversation and ask them questions, and you're not saying anything about where you order or where they can order, but you're just being a service. You're generating conversations. You guys, I have had just random people that I don't even know that never even said order, because I just took that extra time to send them some things. And I say, this is where I love to get my product from. And I'll send them the link if the conversation goes there. So I am not at the place where I am doing the strategy that Blair talks about, but I think it's a great strategy. I've used it in another business, and it works very, very well. But for me right now, I have a lot of these other type of groups that I'm working on from a geographic standpoint, and just really going in and meeting. And I'm going in usually 2 or 3 times a day, and just seeing what sort of communications in there and how I can add value. So hopefully that helps. And Blair, if there's anything else that I've shared with you that you wanted me to share, let me know.
No, that was awesome. Thank you so much. That was great. I love that wording too, and that you send them resources. That's a good idea. I need to get better at that too, and telling them, because they're more likely to go check their inbox if you commented inside of the group saying, I just sent you some more resources and a friend request, go check it out. They're more likely to go find that if they had that direction.
Yeah, let me also add that if somebody asks a question inside the group and underneath it, like, don't give all the goods away, right? So somebody will ask a question, for example, like, I started on semaglutide and then switched to tirzepatide. I had a very, very significant difference in my experience, right? Well, a lot of people will ask that question. So my comment underneath will be, yeah, I've done both. I loved one and one I didn't have great experience about. I don't really want to like share my entire history right here in a Facebook group, but I'd be happy to share it privately. Just send me a message. And I will tell you, the person you're responding to will send you a message, but you will have a ton of other people send you a message too. Hey, I saw you say this in the comments. I want to know too. Honestly, that will happen a lot if you're in there and you're saying it a good bit. So just kind of leave it open ended when you respond and encourage people to message you.
Love that. Thanks, Kelly. All right. Well, that is the end of our training. I'm going to hit stop, but I can stay on for about another 15 minutes if anybody has questions that they want answered.